Mr. Agee.
What's up, Thrill?
Man, let me tell you something, man. Today, I don't even know how we describe this episode today. Because this episode right here is unlike any other that we ever had. And let me tell you why. Have you ever heard of the movie Venom? Have you ever heard of the TV show The Shy? How about this SWAT? How about, did you know our next guest actually knocked out Mike Tyson? I'm just saying.
Hey,
he
man.
knocked out Mike Tyson.
What, in his dreams?
No, he knocked Mike Tyson out. And get this, though. He also come from a place called the School of Hard Knocks. I'm just saying. He comes from that place. Maybe you heard of this movie before, too. Shazam. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Hey, you know, Independence Day resurgence. I mean, but here's what's even more special. I saw this, man, and I said, boy, this is a life that we all should strive for. Because he has a love for writing, acting, teaching, speaking, living, and loving. And you know what he called that?
Yeah.
Obsessed with life. Today on the Hoop Dreams podcast, man, not only do we got a brother that has redefined what it is to transition your life and to further the greatness, because he is a former Hooper standout / track star. He went to, and I got to say this, he went to the Ohio State. On the show today, man, we have none other than actor extraordinaire, Hooper, track star, Mr. Otis Winston. Welcome to the show. I'm Will Gates. That's my dog.
What's up, brother?
What's up, fellas? What's up, man? What's up? What's up?
Man, thank you for being on the show. Let me tell you something. We just gotta, talk about the elephant that's in the room. My former teammate, your former teammate, Mr. Gerald Leaker, man. Let's just show Big Gerald some love quick, man. Tell us about that experience with that boy there.
I'll tell you what, man. That was probably one of the best teammates I ever had, man. He was my brother. We still, he'll text me like movie star. I'm like, yo, what's up, bro? And we just go back and forth. I love him, man. I love him. We had this brotherhood from day one. You know, I always called him the gentle giant, man. The 7 foot man walking around campus with his long trench coat. How you find a trench coat long enough to fit your tail, boy?
That's what I should think the same thing, man. I'm like, this boy can tie his shoes standing up, man.
Exactly, man. Long arms, man. Very athletic. He's a docile spirit, man. And
yeah, he is.
Till this day, I still call him my brother. Like I still keep in touch with him. And he laughed because he's like, man, why you don't need to be. Yes, I do. You my brother, man. We played 2 years together, man. He ended up redshirting his freshman year. And we ended up playing 2 years together. And he will always be my brother, man. Always. He can call me in the middle of the night, I'll pick up.
And his mom, I'm sure you met his mom, man. Amazing. Such the nicest lady. I mean, she meets you and she adopt you. I mean, that's just
absolutely. His mom, his brother. It's just all of them, man. It's just a family thing, man. It's a big family thing, man. So absolutely. I love it. The only teammate I ever took to my hometown, Gerald was the only one, man. And I love all my teammates, man. But G and I, man, we had this connection, and me and him, and then me and Simp, you know what I'm saying? Me and DA, and then my boy Charles Killer Macon. You know what I'm saying? We had such a great freshman class, man. And so when it got dismantled, it was heartbreaking, but we're
going to get into that. But Agee and I, man, our show, we're a little bit different, man, because we know we call it the Agee Gates Hoop Dream Show, but it's about you. And so, man, talk to us, man, because your journey is funny, man. Talking to you, man, you got a little bit of my story and Arthur's story, man, in your upbringing, man. And I'm so impressed with it because where you are today, if people saw you, they would have no idea, man, the road you took to get to where you're at right now, man. So talk to us about what was life growing up, man, for you?
Man, it was different, man. I got what's crazy is I got a book coming out November 6th called Stuttering to Success, man. I stuttered until I was 11. I couldn't properly talk, so I got made fun of a lot. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and you would think it was rougher for me in the streets. It was rougher at home. I'm the baby. My brothers didn't hold anything back from me, man. They let me have it. So it was difficult, man. I was fighting every single day. It was like Oprah. All my life I had to fight. You know what I'm saying? I had to fight every single day, man, just to get my point across. Having a stutter, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was really, really difficult. And then I just kept learning to keep moving. And each day it got better and better. But I was told I couldn't do anything.
Wow. Ooh, I know that just fueled the shit out of you.
I was told, I mean, when I moved from Youngstown to Toronto, my first attempt at basketball, the dude told me I sucked, man. I mean, that's rough. To hear that at 12 years old, that you're no good. And I walked home and my mom said, you got 1 or 2 things can happen. You can prove him right or prove him wrong. I chose to prove him wrong. Man. And that's just where I'm at in my life. I'm learning how to prove people wrong. So getting where I am, even getting to Ohio State and doing track and basketball, you know, it wasn't easy. You know, it wasn't easy. I had to keep finding my way. I had to keep fighting. Y'all know, basketball is that sport that when you love it, you love it.
Yeah.
When you love it, you love it. And I love it. I love it. So you give it everything. And we put everything into it.
Yeah.
Morning, night, whatever it is, we put it into it. And that's what I did all my life. I had to put stuff into it. And so getting where I am now, man, is if you would have told me years ago that the kid who once stuttered and the kid who was told he wasn't any good and the kid who was laughed at and the kid who was made fun of, that he would end up graduating from the Ohio State University with a communications degree. He would end up being a 2-sport captain. He would end up still having a high jump record there that my son is there now about to break. People wouldn't have believed you. I was even in this industry that I'm in, they told me I would never, ever be able to do it living in Columbus, Ohio, man. I got full custody over my kids, and they said the only way you can make it is moving to L.A., moving to Atlanta, moving to New York, moving to Chicago. And I was like, man, bump that. I got to raise my babies. I refuse to be the reason that when my children are adults, which they are now, I got a 22 and a 20-year-old. They're young adults. I refuse to be the reason for them to be sitting on somebody's couch asking a therapist why my daddy didn't stay.
Wow.
So I put everything in them. I raised my babies. I put my dreams on the side. Because they were my dream.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They were my dream. And I said, okay, God, if this is what you want me to do, you will make me like that rose that grew out of the concrete. You will make me grow where I'm planted. And here I am 15 years later, over 40 movies and TV shows without an agent, without a manager. And I'm still here doing it, man.
You killing it. I ain't going to need trip. You killing it out there. I
appreciate that, bro.
Talk to us, man, about the, growing up stuttering, because that, man, kids are something else, man. I mean, I just remember, growing up grade school, man. If we thought somebody smelled bad, we went in on them. If we thought somebody, hair wasn't combed, we went on them. If somebody was stuttering, we went on them. Talk to us, man, about that growing up.
Man, I got cracked on so much. What made people stop cracking on me, to be honest with you, because, that's what we called it. We called it cracking.
Yep.
So you're cracking on me. All right, let's go. And you just sit there, you go back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So even though I stuttered, I still was witty with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I got good with these, man. I'm like, oh, you gonna say something, I'm gonna punch you in your face.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bump on the talker. I'm not gonna put the stick on your shoulder and knock it off. I'm just gonna pow. You know,
right.
So, right. We used to stand leaning on each other. You push me, you touch me, you touch me. I wasn't about that business. You said something, you pissed me off. We just gonna fight. That's it.
We just gonna fight.
It was rough, man. We just gonna fight, man. It was rough. The youngest of 4 boys. My dad was He was a pastor, but he also was a man that knew how to handle himself in the street. You know what I'm saying? So I saw different things growing up. And for me, learning how to step away, and the thing that helped me is when my mom made me realize that my stutter is not my stumbling block. It's my stepping stone. And when I realized that...
How old were you when your mom said that to you?
Man, I was 9, 10. You know, it was like I told y'all at the beginning of the podcast, man. At home was worse than in the streets. Like, my mom was one of those moms where we prayed every night as a family. And my brothers would always be late to the bed, to my mom's bedside to pray until it was my night to pray. And them Negroes would run to the bed because they knew it was going to take me like a half hour just to say Our Father. And as soon as I sat down, you just hear the snickering and they shaking and they laughing. And I was so mad. Like, I just jumped up and just started swinging at everybody because I was mad. Like, I just had enough. I'm tired of y'all laughing at me when I'm trying to pray. So I hated praying. And I was mad at my mom, and my mom made my brothers leave the room, and she sat me down, and she said, son, I said, Mom, why do you make me do something that you know I'm not good at? Why do you make me every week do this, and all they're going to do is laugh at me? She said, baby, I make you do it because no matter what you do in life, there are going to be people who doubt you. There are going to be people who think you're not good enough. As long as your heart is pure and you're doing it from a pure intentions and you put everything that you got into it, that's all that matters. Wow. It's about you. This conversation is between you and God. It's not about your brothers. It's not even about me, baby. It's about you and God. And that day, the light switched, man. And I was like, you know what? Bump them. And what I used to hate as a kid is my strongest thing now. Like my hashtag, if people follow me on social media, you'll always hear me saying, hashtag God is my agent. That's my hashtag.
Agent. I like
because
that.
God is my agent, and he truly is. He's the reason why I'm doing these things you see up behind me. Those are movies I've been in without an agent, without a manager. You know, we got Venom over there. We got Oscar and Powerful right there. We got Plane right there. We got Mike right there. Those are movies I've been in.
Wow.
God is my agent.
That's insane. Without an agent, that's insane.
Without an agent, bro. All three Venom movies without an agent?
And you know,
3 actors been in all 3?
Hey, and you know, it's people out here telling potential people who want to become actors that you need an agent.
Absolutely.
It's people out here telling these people that they think they have to go and get an agent to be in this business. And you a prime example of it.
So, and you know why they do that though, right? Because you do need somebody advocating for you, right? You need somebody that can get you through those doors. For me, I got the best advocate in the world. He knows everybody.
He knows everybody.
So he put my name on in the ear of those who I need to be put in front of. And that's all that's been happening with the Robbie Reeves, with the Casey Hardenfields, with the Howard Bergers, with the Bill Delaney's. That's what God has done. He has placed me in a position to, I did 3 movies with Tom Hardy, bro. I did 2 movies with Gerard Butler, bro. You know what I'm saying?
And Agee, we're talking about real parts. We ain't talking about just
one-liners.
Right, well, no. Yeah. I'm watching the SWAT episode. I'm like, oh, he getting shot. I'm like,
and shooting back.
Yeah, and shooting back. I'm shooting back. I'm looking like, oh, he like.
And then you got me hiding behind the car like, yo, what's this? Yes. Am I about to die? You know what I'm saying?
Then, I'm watching Venom. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm watching Venom. I'm looking like, is he turning into Venom? I'm like, wait a minute. Did he just become Venom? I'm like, okay, this is real. This is real.
I actually got to play that part. When Venom is tearing the bike up, that's me. That's actually me doing that part as well.
It's crazy.
And so
now you're doing stunts too.
I do my own stunts. That's how I navigate.
You say that's how I navigate,
you know what I'm saying? That's how I navigate. Like Tom Cruise do his own stunts. Chris Hemsworth do his own stunts. Otis Winston does his own stunts. I have to be able to do something. You get 2 for 1 with me. You get 2 for 1. So it's almost like as a ball player. If you a big dude, right, and all you know is post moves, you're limited.
Absolutely.
Now you're a 7-footer and you can shoot and you can dribble and you can do all those other things. You KG.
Absolutely. You know, I want you to touch on this for us too, man. Sure. People don't recognize where you grew up at, because oftentimes when people think of rough neighborhoods, you know, they go to Compton or they'll go to Chicago, Brainy, West Side, things like that. But folks don't recognize, man, you know, Ohio got some of the roughest neighborhoods out there. Talk about that environment growing up, man, when you were younger trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah, it was rough, man. I grew up in Westlake Projects, man. Youngstown, Ohio.
Damn, Youngstown. Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bro. So we saw some things, man, but we were a community. It was the time when if you messed up in front of Miss Pat's house, Miss Pat whooped everybody.
Absolutely.
It was a time where the community raised. She whooped everybody. Like, and she gonna walk you home and tell your mama, yo, you know I had to whoop him, right?
Damn.
You did your thing then, Miss Pat. That's the only way we survived, is that the mothers of Westlake, man, got around us. They put us on their shoulders, and they did not hold anything back from us. If we were showing out, they were tearing us up. They made sure we knew that my mama used to say this, I'll rather beat you than allow the streets to do it, because the streets don't love you like I do. I know when to stop. The street don't. The street doesn't know when to stop. That's why we have so many people dying now. I mean, we got kids at the age of 11, 10, 12 running around shooting people, man.
Yep.
Because there's no more community. I don't think the community is where it used to be. Because if somebody you yell at somebody's kid. Now the mama want to come fight you for yelling at their kid. Well, I'm trying to stop them from doing something that can harm them. And then here you are 5 years later, you in a courtroom and he's getting life for murder.
Or he's been murdered and you at the
funeral.
At the funeral.
Absolutely.
You know, man, I saw an episode you did. You was talking about growing up in Youngstown and Agee talks a lot about this, the Hooper's Pass, man. It was kind of like you talked about how to survive, you either had to choose the streets or sports.
Absolutely.
And you chose sports, man. What drew you into sports?
I saw my dad in the streets. I saw what the streets did to people. I saw that you know how many talented brothers are behind bars shooting hoops?
Yep.
My dad is probably the most talented person I think I've ever seen. Like, fast, could sing, entertain. I believe he was supposed to be the first entertainer. I do. I don't think it was supposed to be me, because that dude charismatic. He can walk in a room. My dad, 84 years old, still trying to be a crooner. You know what I'm saying? He's still singing to my mom. You know, and I love it. So I saw so many of my friends with gifts that chose the fast way instead of the long way.
Yeah.
They chose checkers instead of chess. They wanted it right now. And I always went without. Everything in my life I had to work for. Even to talk, think about that. Even to speak, I had to work to be able to do this. So it was easy for me to get a basketball or throw a baseball or get a football tossed to me or get out there on the track and start doing. That's easy work. I'd rather be running and jumping over a bar than running from the cops and jumping over a fence. So basketball saved my life. But
it still had to be challenging. I think about
the
neighborhoods that Agee and I grew up in, man, and even going to play. It's like, and maybe you experienced this, and if you have, touch on this a little bit. we saw this element where even the guys that were above us, they were so talented. They still taught us, but they was out there doing crazy stuff. But it's like the hood has like this crazy dynamic, man, that they can like love on you and teach you, and yet they can't do it for themselves. How were you able to overcome that aspect of it and not fall into that same kind of trap?
I was watching, remember the Isaiah Thomas story?
Mm-hmm. Remember it. We were there.
And the part where when his mom came outside and Isaiah was walking home and the gangs came around, his mom's like, there's only one gang.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the Thomas gang. Leave my baby alone. Like, I would watch that story religiously because, you know, watching Zeke and other players, like, our lives were similar. My mom was raising me. So it was, you hit the nail on the head. They knew how to tell us what not to do, but they didn't know how not to do it. So I had to learn that it's more than just me. Everything that I do affects my family. And I saw how hard my mom worked to keep food on our table. So I had to keep doing that. I had to keep making sure that it was more than me. It's bigger than me. I had to tell myself, it's bigger than you, Otis. It's bigger than you, Otis. It's bigger than you, Otis. So every day I had a goal, and my goal was to get out so that my mom can look back and smile at what I have accomplished because of what she's instilled in me.
Was that like, I'm thinking about that, you being, 12, 13, recognizing this. Did you ever see that as like, man, this is just a lot on me now?
It is, but what I learned is this. One or two things going to happen. You're going to be a product of your environment, or you're going to make your environment a product of you.
That's heavy, Dad. Absolutely.
I chose to make my environment a product of me, bro. I chose to make my environment a product of me.
That I thought was unique, and I don't see this as much. You talked about it earlier, community. So I saw when your family transitioned out of Youngstown and went to basically an all white type
school.
Of community, white school.
Toronto, Ohio, yes, sir.
And you found yourself really almost starting over again. You know, you gotta relearn, you gotta rededicate, recommit. But I saw what you talked about, how it was a struggle for you. But there was this one person who helped you see you. Talk about that.
Man, it was Mr. Wilson, man. He was a principal. And then I had Miss Buckham. They didn't see a little black kid. They saw a young kid struggling. I thought everybody else saw me as this stuttering little black kid. I went from an all black school to an all white school. And I stood out like a sore thumb, man. For me to be able to day in and day out, man, right foot, left foot, breathe, and know that I can be whatever I put my mind to. You know, Sidney Poitier, who's one of my favorite actors, still one of my favorite actors. He said this when he came over to America. He didn't want to just be seen as a black man. He wanted to be seen as a man. He didn't want to be recognized as a black actor. He wanted to be recognized as an actor who just happens to be black. And so me going to Toronto, it was actually good for me because I learned how to navigate in an environment that I wasn't used to. I wasn't used to being the only black kid. I was used to not seeing a bunch of white kids. And now I had to be confident in myself enough to say, I will do this, I won't do that. And then my mom made me realize no matter what I do, I have to do it 100 times better just to be seen as average. That stuck to me because I'm like, they're doing it just like me. It doesn't matter, baby. It doesn't matter. If you want to be up here, okay. So they jumping 6'2", all right, I'm going to jump 7 feet. I had to do that. I had to do that to get to where I'm at. Oh, even in this movie industry, I always say this, there are no small roads, man. There are no small roads. There are only roads that lead to the next one. So if I get in a row and I say 2 lines, guess what? I won. If I say 1 line, I won because I'm getting closer to what I'm trying to achieve, because it's not about the roads for me. It's about the journey to my purpose. And my purpose is to show people, with God on your side, you can do anything but give up.
Share with our audience, man, because I've been there. When you're that only black face, sometimes you got all the black answers, or you gotta, it's like this extra pressure of like being black. Like, I'm already black, now you're gonna put pressure on me to be black. What about that going up there? Because I agree with you. I do think there's elements that getting in that new environment, it helps you grow, it builds you stronger, it opens your eyes up to a world outside of where you just came from. But it also brings its own issues of this side of it. But talk about being that only black student. I know you talked about, things you have to do a little bit more tougher, but sometimes I think it's a little bit deeper than that, because you sit in the classroom and it's Black History Month and, everybody looking at you like, what you got to say? You know what I mean? Talk a little bit about being that student.
What's crazy, and my mom always encouraged us and made us realize that people will only view you the way you view yourself. People only view you the way you view yourself. So if I viewed myself as, I gotta be this, nah, I gotta be me. I've always marched to my own beat, probably because of the stutter, man. The stutter made me so resilient to life because I didn't look at it as a handicap. My mom would never let me view myself as having a speech impediment. She was like, nah, you just got to take longer to get your point across, but you're normal. And so once I realized that I was created to be authentically me, I never felt the pressure to try to be something I wasn't. I don't need to do what y'all think I need to do to fit in with y'all. Because if y'all think I need to do something, guess what? You're not my crew. If I can't be authentically me, you're not the person for me. And that's what I've learned. And I'm even learning that now, even with relationships. Like, if that person don't know how to love you, who you are, the way you are, guess what? They don't deserve you in their life. And that's how I felt growing up with my friends. If I gotta sag my pants more, if I gotta wear my hat a certain way, if I gotta this, if I gotta do that, just so I can get a black card, I'm already black. I'm black every day. I've been black ever since I opened my eyes on this earth. And I'm going to be black until I close my eyes. And black is my magic. We magical. And I'm not going to take that away. And I'm not going to take away from me. And so many people are taken away from themselves because they're trying to be something they're not. I've done that before. I did it when I got to Ohio State. I went from playing a 6'5" postman to now having to become a guard. And it was a learning curve. And it was frustrating. But once I got over that learning curve, man, give me that rock.
Absolutely.
I saw the highlights. So I had to learn.
I saw the highlights. I saw what you could do.
Yeah, I had to learn.
I saw what your coach said about you. I want to shout this out too, man. Your mom. I keep hearing this. It was almost like at every moment, man, she had what to say to you, man. Talk about your mom and just how invaluable she has been in your life. Because I keep hearing this, my mom said, and, my mom told me, it's the mothers to me are our first window to the world. And she saw, man, your light. Talk about that.
Man, it's hard to talk about that without getting like emotional. Like, to have somebody see what you couldn't see, to constantly never give up on you. When the world turns their back. When I was younger, she was the one saying, you're going to be okay. She was tough. She was tough. She said some things that cut to the bone, but it made me better. You know, my mom is I always call her my earthly angel, man. She's amazing, man. She's just one of those moms who loves on everybody. She had a bunch of kids, more than they're her biological kids. So she was special. And I have to be fair, man. My dad changed my life, you know, when he got home. Because, you know, my dad went away for a while. And when he came home, it was my freshman year at Ohio State. And it was rough, man. Coach I felt like he didn't like me, you know, and I went there because of him, because it was a black coach, and I've never had a black coach before. And then I had a black coach in basketball and track. So I was like, that's a win-win situation for me. I want to be coached by a black man, you know, and for me to experience what I've experienced, it was rough. And I remember I came home my freshman year, man, for Christmas break. And I walked in the house and I told my mom, I said, I'm not going back. I said, I'm not going back. And my dad had eased his way downstairs and he was listening to my mom and I talk. All I heard was, hey. I was like, yeah, what up? He's like, let me talk to you. I'm still mad at my dad because he wasn't there when I needed him the most. He wasn't there when I thought I needed him the most. Because at that moment, he took me upstairs. He's like, so I heard you want to quit. I said, yeah. He was like, all right, okay. He said, I know I ain't been here. I know you mad. I know we don't have this great relationship right now. But I will tell you this. If you quit now, and if you allow that man to make you quit, you'll be quitting the rest of your life. And I've never seen you quit anything. So it's your decision. But if you quit, you're only gonna be cheating yourself. You're only gonna be cheating yourself. And that changed my life, man. I went back to school, sat the bench for the rest of the year, got into track, became an All-American a few months later. And guess who was down in New Orleans? Guess who drove 17 miles to watch his son compete for the very first time ever? It was my dad, man. My dad saw me become an All-American for the first time. So my parents at both stages of my life have been very instrumental. My mom when I was younger until now. My dad when I got older, when I really needed him, he showed up. I'm grateful that they both are still on this side of the dirt, man. And I tell them how much I love them. And I'm a mama's boy and I'm a daddy's boy, man. I get to talk to both of them, and they both give me jewels, man. They both give me jewels.
Man, what a blessing, man. What a blessing. Let's jump into, man, your Ohio State, man. Talk about that first day you get up on that campus, man. What was that like?
It was like a dream come true, man. I remember I got on campus, the first day I got on campus, I ran into Greg Simpson, Derek Anderson, myself. We all bonded. And then G Nut got there, man, Gerald, and then Killer. We all became inseparable, man. It was good, man. It was a good feeling because here I am from this small town that people said or people thought I couldn't accomplish or make it here. And then now I'm here. Now that I'm here, I got to plant my feet and establish myself, though. That was the difference, establishing myself. Because once I moved out of my mom's house, I never went back home. I never went back. Yeah, I never went back to Toronto.
When you went there, were you, maybe I read this wrong, were you a walk-on when you first went there?
The way they did it, I couldn't accept a track scholarship and play basketball.
Gotcha.
Because track was minor.
Gotcha.
So I had to, like that, they call it preferred walk-on. You're on the team. I'm on the team. They didn't have no more scholarships because Jimmy left and then Derek came in. And Derek took that last scholarship.
Gotcha.
That I thought I was going to get because we didn't know Derek was coming.
Gotcha.
And so I get there and I'm a preferred walk-on on the team. But the only reason I had to do that is I still wanted to do track.
Gotcha.
So in order to do both, you know, and hindsight, now I'm looking back at it, I didn't fit Ohio State style of play. I'm an athlete. I'm up and down the court. Ohio State was half court offense, move the ball, get shot. I needed to be somewhere where we were, you know, running rebels, you know what I'm saying? Running up and down the court, Michigan, running up. I needed to be catching stuff off the rim and, you know, that, but, you know, I didn't have anyone to tell me that. I didn't have anyone to navigate me through. I don't think that's the good school for you. It all worked out in the end because I had to make it work out and God saw fit. But looking back at it, you know, I just didn't have the right guidance, I would say. But it all worked out for the best.
So clarify this for me. So you went there to play ball.
Mm-hmm.
After the season, you joined the track team.
No, I went there to do both. Ball
so
and
you went
track.
there to, gotcha.
That's the only reason I chose Ohio State. That's the only school that was really allowing me to do both.
Gotcha.
I couldn't choose which one I wanted. So that was the school that allowed me to do both. So they knew I was doing both coming in. Man, looking back at it now, I'm like, I have no idea, bro. No, seriously, because I'm watching kids not be able to handle one sport. We were on quarters back then. I didn't have not one quarter off the entire time I was there.
I'm thinking that because I'm like.
We went remember, track ends in June.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball started in the summer because we had the Worthington League. So soon as track, I went right to basketball. I was nonstop.
That's insane, man. I'm picturing that. I'm picturing that like, yeah, when you have a moment to.
I have. And that's why I'm able to do everything that I'm doing now because college taught me. So I can act, I can speak, I can hold workshops, I can do whatever you need me to do because I know how to balance my time, and time is everything, man. So it was I have no idea how I balanced it, bro. The grace of God.
Now you played with some amazing athletes on your team, man. Give us some of those names.
Man, we played with, of course, we had Greg Simpson, we had Charles Macon, Derek Anderson, Lawrence Funderburk, Jamie Skelton, Alex Davis, Damon Stringer, played with Jason Singleton, Jermaine Tate, Nashawn Coleman. Man, I had like so many different, Sean Stonerook, it was so many different, Rick Ute, so many different brothers that and athletes that I played with, Doug Etzler. It was just a crew that I will always call, it's a brotherhood, man. The one I hate that I didn't get to play with, and I call him my big brother till this day, is Jim Jackson, man. I was coming to Ohio State to play with Jim, and Jim left early, and that is my brother, man.
Too, man.
He had to go get that money, bro.
That dude but he was so good, man.
He was special. He was special.
You know, I don't even think, even right now, the league, that era of guys that came out, like I keep telling people sometimes, and I'm probably just this way because I'm from that era, but I think our era, we produced a lot of great talent. And I look at Jim Jackson, I go like, man, that dude has had really a Hall of Fame career. And I think they need to honor that in the leagues. Sometimes I keep wondering, what does it take to get into the Hall of Fame these days, man? I don't know what you got to do.
It's so crazy because I can't forget my boy Antonio Watson.
Yes,
monster. Antonio Watson. That's my brother, man. But it's so funny that you said that. My son had just said something to me about Ohio State just had their Hall of Fame, and he's like, Dad, your record been there over 30 years. What people fail to realize, I only did two indoor seasons. Actually, one indoor meet my junior year, and I won a Big Ten championship. My senior year, I went indoor, won it again. Every indoor I competed, I won a Big Ten championship. And then I won the Big Ten championship outdoor, and then I was an All-American, came in third my freshman year in nationals. And so I don't understand what it takes for like Hall of Fame stuff, you know.
So you're not in the Hall of Fame?
At Ohio State? No.
Yeah. What?
No.
What?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Hopefully it'll come. It'll come when it's supposed to come.
It will. But
it'll come when it's supposed to come, because now my son is there, man. This dude about to smash my record, man. He about to make my record look small, man.
Is that, man? That gotta be just the most incredible feeling.
It is
watching your son do his thing, man. That gotta be incredible.
Bro. It is. Watching him. He said something. They got a documentary that they're doing on him, and they're following him around as he breaks the record. So they're following him. And he said something. He said he wants to get to the point to where people look at me and say, that's Rain's father. So when they asked me to come in and I introduce myself, I sit down and says, hello, my name is Otis Winston, and I'm Rain's father. I have no problem. Saying I'm Rain's father, because he's the best young man I ever met in my life, man.
I think sometimes, man, our sons don't understand it until they become a father,
mm-hmm.
but they don't recognize that there's only one person in life we want to be better than us, and it's them.
Absolutely. When I see fathers competing with their sons, if I see a father competing with their son, I see a broken man.
Absolutely.
I see a broken man. And that's why I say this all the time. It's a lot of adult boys out here. And the reason there are adult boys is because they didn't allow themselves to be around to watch their children grow. The only way I became a man is watching my son and my daughter be children. I had to watch my son be a boy, watch my daughter be a girl. And that made me realize what I was as a man. I became a man by being a father.
Amazing. That's amazing. But it's true. It's true. I mean, that's you can't get any realer than that. And you're right, man. I just think I agree 100% with you, man. Those who are competing with their kids, whether it's mamas and daughters or fathers and sons,
mm-hmm.
something's broken there, man.
Absolutely.
Something's broken in there. But I want to jump into this too, man. At Ohio State too, your senior year, which I'm pretty sure was probably like you loved that year because there's nothing like. But the team made you co-captain. That got to be an honor that the guys respected you on that level. But your coach said something, man, that I thought was just like next level. And he was like, I'm so glad to have O on this team because he provides so much more. Then he started talking about your basketball. He's like, man, his size, he can guard, 4 or 5 positions for us. But then he ended it with saying, but man, he's a big brother to these guys. When you hear something like that, man, coming from your coach, especially if you think about your freshman year where you started, what does that make you feel? What does that make you think about, man?
It made me realize that, because I thought he didn't like me, man. He said some stuff that, like, even that year, I remember he said, it was almost like mind games sometimes. I remember I had a game where I think it was Penn State. It was like one of my best games. I picked dude's pocket, went down, dunked it. I was like 7 for 8 from the field. And he said something. He was like, the reason my shots were good shots were because I made them. Dude, I'm like,
that's a coach.
I'm like, wait a minute. I just had the best game of my life.
That's
so
right.
So to hear that, it makes me realize that there was moments where I think he appreciated me, because coming from my freshman year and hearing him or hearing some coaches say that I'll never play there, and to be called or be nominated as a co-captain, it's a good feeling, because the players respected me. You got to think, players got kicked out of school my junior year, and then I played my junior year, redshirted that next year because of the Olympic trials in 96. Then I came back in 97 for my senior year. Players got kicked out in between 96 and 97. So I come back in 97, no one get kicked off the team when I'm the captain. After I graduate, players get kicked off the team again the following year. So it was like, I was a big brother. I was able to sit and talk to these guys and have a relationship. Damon Stringer just texted me yesterday, and he was one of the co-captains with me that year. And that means a lot to me when a coach can look at someone who he didn't think added value, and years later say what he said. That just goes to tell you, you can change a person's perspective if you don't give up on you.
Absolutely.
And that's all that's happened. I think I changed his perspective. I'm like, dude, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, I'm here. I'm standing 10 toes down. 10 toes down.
Clearly you changed it because you got in that lineup. That's
absolutely.
That's
I got in the lineup my junior year and my senior. started both years. So I'm going to crack this lineup, bro. You can say what you want to say.
And I ain't gonna trip, man. That jump shot was pretty smooth, though. I saw the game you talking about your double game. I said, okay.
Yeah.
I said, all right, that jump shot, he coming off screens, catching, popping. All right.
Pulling on him. And then when I went overseas to play, I was lighting them up.
I love it, man, because you lived what Agee and I always talk about, man, that ultimate hoop dreams, man. And because sometimes people think it just means making it to the NBA, but it's actually, man, we believe it to be living the life to the fullest. Like,
absolutely,
you're getting the most out of your talent and beyond. And speaking of that, man, I want to talk about, man, this transition, because I mean, you moved into Hollywood, and that, as much as sometimes we think basketball transition to everything in life, and it may from maybe a competitive perspective, but that's like a different sport. Like, I tell people, just because you play basketball, that don't mean you can go out there and hit a golf ball. That's a different sport. It requires a different learning, a different technique.
Absolutely.
How did you begin to think and know that this is my next calling?
Well, I didn't. When I was in Russia, there's nothing to do when you're playing overseas. The language barrier, you have all this time on your hands. I started to keep a journal, man. And when I got back home from Russia, that journal turned into my first screenplay. And my boy, Mark Baker, Shake and Bake, from Ohio State, he introduced me to this lady who introduced me to Robbie Reed. And I started sending Robbie Reed my scripts, and she was like, "You're a great writer," and da. And then, I went through some trials in life, man, and I ended up going to LA, and I was walking in the building to meet up with Robbie, and this lady was walking out, and as I was walking in, this lady was walking out, and this lady looks at me, and she asked me if I was the guest actor. I said, "No, ma'am, I'm just here to meet with Robbie." She said, "Oh, okay, the guest actor never showed up." And they asked me if I would stand in and do it. And it was this thing they were doing at the time. They were testing, called Hip Hop to Hollywood, something Queen Latifah was producing to get these artists from hip hop into Hollywood. And I ended up doing it, and I came home. I was walking out. I get a phone call. It was BET. I booked my first role as The Game. And that's how I know it was divine order, man. God put me in that place. I read this book. I love this book. It's called The Alchemist. And it talks about, he called it the omens. The omens. You will get an omen of what you're supposed to be doing, and it'll be easy, and it whets your appetite for that thing you're supposed to be doing. My first role was a speaking role. I had a honey wagon. I had my own trailer. I was down in Atlanta for 2 weeks, and my first role ever, I've never acted before, was a speaking role. My second role was this movie back there where I was an extra. So I went from a speaking role to an extra. So he whet my appetite. I know what I could do, and now I have to see what it takes to get there. So I went from a speaking role to an extra, just like that. But what people fail to realize, that extra role was the role that would change my life. I played a Winky. We're all 6'5" or taller. I was the short one. I stayed late one day, and I was showing these brothers how to learn how to march. I'm 6'5". I thought all tall people had rhythm. I had no idea tall people can't dance. I didn't know. I had no idea until I got there and saw these brothers could not march. I'm like, what? It's just a rhythm, bro. Just do it. They couldn't do it. So I stayed late, helped these brothers learn how to march. While I was doing that, the choreographer left. In walks this guy. And this guy's just sitting there watching us. And he's like, excuse me. I said, yes, sir. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, well, we got our big scene tomorrow. And a lot of guys didn't know how to march. He said, so what are you doing? I said, well, I'm teaching them. He said, why? I said, I know I'm just an extra, but I look at this as it's my movie. Because if I'm in it, I got to make sure we're doing the best part that we can do. He said, and walked away. We came in the next day, come to find out the guy who was watching us, his name is Casey Hoddenfield. Casey Hoddenfield called me over. He introduced himself. He's like, Otis, I'm Casey. Thank you for what you're doing. He was like, yo, Mike Otis up. Bumped me up. I went from an extra to being bumped up. I made more in the last 2 weeks than I made in the first 3 months as an extra. At the end of the movie, Casey said, here's my number. Keep in touch with me. He says, we never would have been able to get this movie done without you.
Wow.
Since that movie, I've done Venom 1, Venom 2, Venom 3 with Casey. I've done Greenland with Gerard Butler with Casey. I've done Independence Day Resurgence with Casey. You never know. So that's how it all worked out. Divine intervention. God giving me favor with the right people I'm supposed to have favor with.
Just divine intervention. You was thrust into it. I mean, this was like, I'm gonna smack you with this. Like, it's like you didn't even have a choice at that point. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm loving that, man, because did you ever have to do like a first audition, or you skipped that stage?
No, for what? For the game?
Yeah.
No audition.
No audition.
They just gave me the part.
You hear that, Agee?
Yep.
They just gave me the part.
That's crazy.
Just gave me the part. I did not audition. My very first role, I did not audition. They just gave me the part. That's what The Alchemist talks about. When you're going into when you're following your purpose, when you find out what it is, it'll give you something so great where you're like, and then it takes you back to the beginning. Now, do you got the fortitude and the faith to fight to get back to where you're supposed to be?
There it is right there.
Because we want it. We want it instantly because, our appetite has been wet. So we're like, all right, this is what it is. No, go back. Now fight for it.
It's interesting you say that, man, because we had Terry Crews on the show, and he talked about a very familiar or similar situation that you just did. He was an extra in Training Day, and he said they just wanted me to stand there,
Yeah.
And that big scene when Denzel getting ready to put everybody in Pelican Bay and all this other stuff, but Terry Crews, and he just standing there, probably on the credits, thug number 101, it was like, but he said...
Actually didn't even make credits because if you don't have a speaking role, if you don't speak, you don't even make the credits.
You don't even make the credits, right?
Then he didn't have a credit word. But he said...
Changed his life.
Changed his life. Changed his life. I mean, it's amazing, man. I just want to say this, man. Your career has been amazing. To just following your story, man, to go from hooping, track, growing up, there's this sense of hope, man. It seems like it just hovers you. What would you say to young folks, man, coming up, struggling because people don't even recognize, because, you said something earlier about when you came home from college. Man, I wish somebody would do something, just put a documentary about all the college freshmen who wanted to quit, after the first semester. Because even I was one of those, I was like, man, I ain't going back to Marquette. These jokers ain't treating me right. We all, like, it's something about that first year, that adjustment. So what would you say to, man, just folks, man, as they're trying to find their way, how to stay focused?
It's so funny because my brand is called Focused. That's actually one of my brands. Buckeye Born is one of my brands, and Focused is my brand. Okay. And the way I tell people to stay focused is I always ask kids this question: what can you do for the rest of your life for free? When you find that answer, that can be your purpose or your passion. Because I can be on set for 18 hours and it not bother me. I'm in my passion. I remember being in a cubicle, daydreaming about being on set. I'm never on set. I've never been on set and daydreamed about being back in a cubicle. So the way I get people to stay focused is, what is it that you want out of life? What is it that you want out of life? Nothing worth having is easy. You got to work for it. You got to work for it. And you can't look at, there's a story in the Bible where they said Jesus was walking on the water and Peter yelled out, "If that's you, bid me to come." And they said, Jesus said, "Come." And Peter stepped out the boat and he started doing a miracle that he didn't even know he was doing. He was walking on water towards his end goal. And the closer he got towards his end goal, he said, the Bible says he started to look around the water, the waves and everything, and then he started to sink. And then he says, "Save me." Jesus reached out his hand, pulled him up, and says, "Why did you doubt?" What happens is, in life, we want something so bad, but the only way you're going to get it is you got to plug your ears, put your blinders on, and stay focused on your end goal. This is the first time in my life since I was in high school that I'm so focused on me that I can see him. I'm so focused on me that I can see him. And what happens is I'm not distracted no more. I'm focused on that purpose. And that purpose is telling people that you can do it. Don't look at your situation. It's a distraction. Where I live now, everything is almost like, that's a lie. This is not the life I'm supposed to be living, but I got to get through it to get to it. If I get comfortable, guess what? I'm no longer fighting to get there. I'm no longer fighting to get there. So I tell my son all the time, which y'all, documentary Hoop Dreams is his favorite documentary, by the way. I forgot his favorite documentary. I tell him this all the time. If you want to accomplish something in life, you have to be deaf to the naysayers, and you have to be deaf to yourself, because sometimes you tell yourself you can't do it.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to just say, exactly. You gotta be able to say, "Hey, let's go. Crank this thing. Crank it. Every morning I wake up like, all right, let's accomplish this. Every day I wake up waiting for a phone call that can change my life in this movie industry. I know I'm about to get to where I need to be. It's not about if, it's just when. But that's my mentality. Like I was listening to Will Smith talking about this chess master and how in your head you got to place the pieces where you want them to go. I have to imagine where I want, pray on it, and work towards it. That's all I do every day. I imagine it, I pray on it, and I work towards it every single day, bro. So I would tell these kids, whatever you want in life, look around. If you're in this one bedroom, your mom can barely get the bills paid, this, that, and the other, what do you want? What do you want?
How do you share that with them? Because a lot of that, what I'm hearing is you're saying these are distractions.
It's a distraction.
I'm just thinking about the young athletes, because there's so many things that can be a distraction.
Absolutely.
But what are you telling the kids that when their distraction is still truly their realization? Like you said, there's barely any food. They can barely, the number one struggle is, hey, I just want to get up in the morning and get to school. Maybe they might feed me today.
Absolutely.
What are you sharing with? What are you saying to those kids?
It's temporary. Don't make a permanent decision based off of temporary situations. Don't allow your temporary pain to cause you to do something that becomes permanent in your life. It's temporary. It's temporary. Put your feet down. It's almost like, you remember Forrest Gump? My brothers used to call me Forrest Gump. I don't care that they call me Forrest Gump. You want to know why I don't care that they call me Forrest Gump? Everything Forrest did, he was successful at. Forrest's handicap was not his handicap, it was his strength. It was a scene of Forrest Gump at the end where when they were on the boat and Lieutenant Dan, he said, I looked up and Lieutenant Dan was there. Lieutenant Dan came and he said, and the storm came and Lieutenant Dan and God had it out. And next thing you know, God showed up. Lieutenant Dan sat there. He says, is that all you got? Is that all you got? Bring it. Bring it. Lieutenant Dan wasn't the first one to have that argument with God. And that's a TV show. They said Jacob wrestled with God and would not let him go. Wrestled with the angel and said, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. You know what I'm saying? So I tell people this, stand on what you want and get to that point where there's a will, there's a way. How do you want it? Do you want it fast or do you want it long? Because see, fast usually go fast. Long is strong. And it lasts. It lasts. So stand there, figure it out, be creative. You creative enough to get in these streets and make money. You can be creative enough to get on this internet and make money. I mean, you can be creative enough to get on this TikTok and make some money, get on this Instagram and make some money. They're just throwing money at people nowadays. You got influencers making more money than athletes.
You know, it's so crazy that what is similar. It mirrors, and what we saw in our environment was that dealers, the clothes, the girls, the money, like it was just some guys like us who was like, nah, in that lifestyle, living that type of lifestyle, it ain't gonna last. It's just for the short term. So none of that shit impressed me. Like the drug dealers in my neighborhood, like none of that impressed me to like wanted to be like them or anything like that. I'm like, no, I want to do what Isaiah Thomas doing. You know what I'm saying? And that's a hard discipline as a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old to just be bombarded with all these negative things, but it looking like it's glistening, like it's shining. But God telling you, son, you know I got something better for you. That's just quick. Watch all them dudes going to be in jail and you going to be off in college somewhere. You going to be
in jail or dead.
Yeah. Closer to your dream. And it's just so crazy because, you know what I'm saying? Like I the TV, but the acting stuff, I was like, man, this is another arena that I can jump into and be successful at and challenge myself. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Everything that glitters isn't gold. You know what I'm saying? So just because it shines, I heard this saying, it says, why do a fly spend its time? Why does a bee spend his time telling a fly that honey tastes better than He's not. He's not. So I'm not going to spend my time telling you what I got and what I'm doing is an easier route than you. Just look at it and see. I don't got to worry about feds knocking down my door or this or that or this. I'm getting it the way I want to get it. I'm getting it the way I see fit. I'm getting it so I can go back to Youngstown and go back to Toronto and show these kids that, hey, this is someone just like y'all who was told he couldn't accomplish something. And look at what he's doing now.
I'll tell you this too. Oh, I think you also, man, you listen to the moments. Like I think for all of us, there were certain moments where somebody said something that stuck more than anything else. And we didn't ignore it. Like, again, when I think about, man, I'm going to call it your manifesto. I don't know what you call it, but when you call it obsessed with life, I think about this, man, from your acting to your writing to your teaching, speaking, living, loving, all of these things. I think they all require a space that we all got to go to, but most people don't want to go there. I think it requires us going from being a caterpillar to a butterfly. But most people don't want to go into a cocoon because we want to take people with us. And the problem is, in order for a butterfly to become that, it got to go through a cocoon phase. And can't nobody get in your cocoon but you.
That chrysalis is only designed for one.
Yes. Yes.
My dad, you think, hey man, when God put his hands on you and he taking you places, it's certain can't go. You is for you. I know you want to look at your friends and say, hey man, this is what happening in my life and all that, but hey, that's just what it is. God is not going to let you take them with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, bro. And that's the thing. It's a party of one right now in my life. It's a party of one. I got to get to where I need to get. And then I'm choosing who I allow around me. You get to where you need to get. Then you choose who you allow around you. Because the right people going to add, not take away.
Absolutely.
Going to fit you.
And truthfully, you say add. I'm gonna take your life up even higher. I think you've been multiplying.
Absolutely.
I think you've been multiplying because I think you've been doing, man, from the beginning, you've been making quantum leaps. Most people, and Agee can attest to this, he has done multitudes of auditions. I ain't met too many people who was quantum leap right into, into a show.
I mean, what? Just
that's a quantum leap, man. I mean, and this is not, I don't think you do it for a brag or anything like that, but it's impressive. I mean, man, you got stars among stars out there, man. So I say all that to say, man, we are extremely, proud of you, excited for what God has been doing in your life and what he's continuing to do. And I got one more question for you. Then my dog gonna hit you with the final questions because we done had you for so long. But I want you to take this moment, man, and just share with our audience, man, what makes Otis Winston Otis Winston?
Oh man, that's a loaded question, man. A few months ago, the answer would have been different. But after writing my book, the last chapter of my book, because my book is called Stuttering to Success. And the last chapter of my book is called Learning to Love Myself. From stuttering to learning to love myself. And what makes me me now is that I finally love myself. I love myself to know who's good for me and who's not. You know what I'm saying? I love myself enough to know what's good for me and what's not. I love myself to know that I deserve everything that's happening in my life because I've worked for it and I've prayed on it and I'm helping people. So I'm the type of dude where I'm finally learning how to be what I want. I'm going to be for them what I'm learning how to be for me. I used to love out of habit. I was a nice dude out of habit. Now I love out of love. And now I give because I know what it feels like to love me. I won't hurt anyone because I don't want them to hurt. Because I know what love feel. But when all you know is what hurt feel, guess what? Even though you're a nice dude, hurt people hurt people. So now that I've allowed myself and I'm allowing myself to be healed, truly, I love me. So I look at life differently. I look at life where I'm always looking at the good in somebody. But just because I see the good in you, if you show me the bad, I love myself enough to walk away like, I love you. I'm just going to love you from over there. I love you though, but I'm going to love you from over there because you got something on you that's not, you look good, you smell good, you sound good, but are you good? And you can't find that out until you learn how to love you. We all have allowed people to come in our life that wasn't good for us, right?
Yep.
And the reason that was because we didn't have the discernment to know what was good for us. Loving me have taught me to learn and see what's good for me. And that's the thing that I love the most, man. And real quick, I know you went to Marquette. One of my little homeboys, one of my little kids who I used to coach when he was a shutty, he was out here killing it. Sean Jones, man, he at Marquette right now. Yeah. I gotta give him a little. Yeah, that's my dude. His mom did an amazing job with him, Sherry, man. Sean is doing his thing. I saw number 22. That's what made me think about it, because Sean rocks 22.
Yes, he does. Hey, listen, man. As a matter of fact, if he doesn't get hurt last year, Marquette goes a lot further, man. They go a lot further than last year, man. That joker tough, man. That joker is
Speedy Gonzalez, bro.
Agee, when I tell you tough, that joker, man, whew, something else, man. Let me say this, man, before Agee asks you the last question, man. This is what I appreciate about you, just hearing what you're saying, man. I love the fact that you have not defined yourself by your success. And what I mean by that is that and I think this is where a lot of former athletes get in trouble at. We defined ourselves by what we used to be, and so we stay stuck there. And we're always trying to get back to that, not recognizing that, God used that for that moment. Now he's moving to something else. But the problem is, if you define yourself so much by what you used to be, you'll never become what you're supposed to be now, man. So I appreciate that you have transitioned yourself, man, that I still see guys to this very day that we've all come out of school with, played ball in the 90s and they're stuck in the 90s and they're struggling with that stuckness. So, man, I appreciate man, how you have redefined and you're showing folks, man. That's why I was so excited that you came on the show today. So I just want to thank you. And my dog got the final question for you.
Hey,
all right, let's go.
Hey, and that's Mark Baker too, man. Hey, I remember he down to speak at his foundation, and brother, man, beautiful brother.
That's my big brother, man.
Yeah. So the next chapter in Otis Winston's Hoop Dream.
Man, I just watched a movie, one of my favorite movies. And it reminds me of my life. It's called Pursuit of Happiness. And, all through the movie, you will hear Will say certain things. This stage of my life is called catching a bus. This stage of my life is called running. The very last scene when he got where he needed to get. And the guy asked him, he said, was it as easy as you made it look? And Will Smith playing Garner starts crying. And he says, no, sir. No, it wasn't. And when he walks out the building and he's clapping his hand and he's clapping for himself and he's clapping that he finally got where he needed to be. His wife left him and his son. Him and his son had to sleep in the bathroom of a subway station and all this other stuff that went on, man. And going to jail, painting, chasing, trying to do all this, homeless, staying at shelters, all this stuff. No one knows your journey, right? This chapter of my life, this chapter is called Happy. It's called Happy because I love me. No matter what, life couldn't break me. From the stuttering to the being told I wasn't good enough, to sitting on the bench, to telling me I can't act, to being told I'm crazy and I'm lying about being on set. All this stuff that people have made up about me. It didn't break me. I'm here. And you're going to turn on your TV and see me everywhere. Get used to this face. You're going to see me everywhere because I'm happy. This part of my life is called acceleration to the purpose that God put me on this earth to do. And I'm happy, man.
Agee, I don't know, man. That's probably one of the first ones when you've asked that question. Most people have given us the answer, and there's nothing wrong with their answers, but I've never heard an answer like that. Most answers have been, man, I'm writing a book, or, I'm getting ready to do this, I'm getting ready to do that. And you just simply said, listen, I already know those things are taking place, but it's taking place because this is the stage I'm at in my life right. In other words, man, I'm just impressed, man. I love what you're doing. Thank you for being on the show. Hey, listen, man, tell people how they can find your handle. Where can they look you up at?
Otis D. Winston on IG, Otis Winston on TikTok, and Old Faithful Facebook, just Otis Winston, man. And I appreciate this, man. Hopefully my son will come on here and y'all can get his jewels going and get it popping with him.
Absolutely.
This is amazing, man.
Hey, give our audience the name of that book and where can they get it and when it's dropping.
All right, the name of the book is called Stutter into Success. November 6th on Amazon. It'll be ebook and hard copy. You can order it on Amazon. Hopefully after that, I'll be able to get it to Barnes & Noble. But right now, Amazon for the ebook as well as the hard copy. You can order it. It ships right to you. And then, of course, Venom 3, The Last Dance, man. Venom, The Last Dance. That baby drops October 25th. And we got Red One with The Rock and Chris Evans. That drops November 15th. That drops November 15th. So we got it going, man. We rocking, man. We rocking.
Listen. You getting those forever movies.
That's
that's what I call them, the forever movies. Classic.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Listen, he getting a Christmas movie, man. That's forever. That's every year.
Yeah.
That's every year. Play.
Every year, bro.
Look, what's your agent name? Oh, he go by the name O.D.
God is my agent,
baby.
Brother.
And there you go.
My agent know everybody.
And
he knows
we
everybody.
gotta have you back on too, man. We gotta have you back on because I know one of the things we're supposed to do today, man, we're supposed to talk a little basketball. So we gotta have you back on to